pause the recording, so it should be when it uploads one recording for the committee and council. All right. And we're streaming and we're back recording. So again, sorry everyone, my audio disconnected, but it's 7:31. So we will go ahead and call this February 8th, 2021 council meeting to order at 7:31, and we'll start tonight with prayer and the pledge. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thy kingdom, power, glory, forever.
Forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice
for all. All right. Brian, roll call.
Okay, Cosgray.
Present.
Is that Cosgray?
Present.
Yes.
Foreman. Present.
Present.
Brian, are you on the beach? Because your connection's pretty bad.
Present.
Present.
Well, I'm near the. I'm not nowhere near the beach. Keller and McCreary.
Present.
McCreary here.
Okay.
All right, that's everyone. Thank you. All right. Of course, also on, I think Chief's on here, Jeff's on here, Terry's on here. So first agenda item is approval of the minutes from the last meeting, January 25th.
Foreman moves we approve them as written.
Keller, second.
All right, any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, roll call.
Cosgray.
Cosgray, yes.
Foreman.
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Hankinson.
Yes. Yes.
Keller.
Yes.
McCreary.
Yes.
All right, minutes will be approved as written. Next is the agenda. We do have an amendment we need to add for a first reading. Is it resolution? No, it's ordinance 2021-02, which is an ordinance authorizing the village administrator to transfer to the Liberty Union Thurston School District obsolete and unused village property, to one motor vehicle previously used by the village police department, and the declaration of an emergency. And then we will need a sponsor for this as well. This is, we are transferring to the school the 2008 Crown Vic from the police department.
Mayor, this wasn't in committee anywhere, was it?
I don't know. I think it was mentioned in passing, but it hasn't. I don't think it's actually gone through committee because it popped up relatively quickly.
Okay. I'll sponsor it.
All right. Thank you. All right. And then is there a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
Keller moves to approve the agenda as amended.
McCreary would second that to accept
All
the
right.
minutes as amended.
All right. So any further discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, roll call.
Cosgrave,
Yes.
Mormon,
Yes.
I didn't hear Hamilton. Hankerson,
Yes. We didn't hear
Yes.
you say for Hamilton, but Hamilton says yes.
Keller,
Yes. Keller.
McCreary,
McCreary, yes.
All right. So agenda is amended. We will move on. First item on the agenda is visitors. And there we go. I didn't get any official emails or anything like that, but I did get 2 emails last week that I'll just use under visitors. And as soon as I can, because they were prior, I didn't forward them to myself, and with the email switch, I'll get them to Barb to include in the minutes. The first, and they both kind of have to do with some of the snow stuff. So the first, I'm not going to read it. It's a long one, but it's from Karen Ansel. She lives at 419 East Monroe Street. Hopefully Terry's still on. Anyway, Karen is asking about the snow plowing. Her part of Monroe Street is actually the dead end part that goes behind the flower shop, and it dead ends into the north end of the park. And that she has an issue because it's not getting plowed to her past her driveway. She says whichever employee is doing the street clearing is backing the truck up and plowing away from their house, specifically, and she believes purposefully, missing the end of the street where it attaches to their driveway, so that the street is not clear at the end of their driveway. She says it's no way we could be missing it. It's completely obvious. She mentions that she has talked to me about this in the past, and I brought it up last year. I do remember it coming up last year. She brought up that Tim and her husband had, her words here, had words about this last year because the snow blade would push the snow into their driveway, and that they asked that the plow be rotated to the other side of the street. She included that her neighbors at 415 have a similar issue, making sure that the plow is clearing from in front of their driveway so that they can get out. So I will forward that on. Terry, are you on? Did you get that?
I did. I haven't seen this yet. So can you forward it to me so I can address it with staff?
I will try. It hasn't popped up in my new email system yet, but I can at a minimum copy and paste it and send it on to you. And so that'll be coming along. I'll do that after the meeting. The second one, Terry, while you're on, and I think I'm getting emails now, better that we switched over, is from one of the ladies that had the issue at Canal Street and Market Street. And just asking for some extra salt to be put on Canal Street behind the homes on Basel Street. She said she tried to enter Canal from Market to swing around to get into her driveway, but ended up sliding off. So they were able to get it out, but she sent that, and I figured I should bring it up tonight since we're expecting more snow tonight, and they'll be out plowing and salting in the morning.
I live on Canal. I'm not sure where it meets Market.
I don't think it does.
I wasn't sure either, unless she's talking about just down from my office right before the car dealership where it turns on and then it loops around and becomes Canal.
That's my daughter. She hasn't complained about plowing.
So I don't know. I'm just forwarding it on because I got some emails late last week and we never have anything for visitors, so I'm using it tonight. So
One was Canal
Okay,
Road, which turns into Granville.
Right. Make sure you forward me that, because you said behind the homes, and we don't go behind homes with salt, only if it's
no. I think her house is on Basel Street. So I don't know where Canal would hit behind it, but unless she's actually talking about the alley that pulls into the parking lot behind my office, but that's all private.
Correct.
Might be talking about the alley that comes out there by the bank, Mayor.
Yeah, but again, that's an alley, so we're not going to do that.
No.
And the
If you
bank
could
clears that,
So-
it's always clear.
All right. Well, I'll forward them or copy and paste them to you, Terry, so that you have them and so that we can include them in the minutes. So,
Thank you.
all right. Yep. Moving on, my reports. I'm going to keep it quick tonight because I know Terry has some things to update everybody on. And she'll probably talk a little bit more about our Columbia gas incident from the beginning of the year, the way we closed out 2020 and started 2021. We got about the best thing we could from them, short of them saying it was completely their fault. But they sent us an email saying that there was no fault with the village with regards to whatever happened over there and stuff. They ended up they did not mark a line correctly. So when Joey dug into it and hit a line, it was not there's no liability on the village. It's not Joey's fault at all. So. That was good info to get. The county is rolling out COVID vaccines. It seems like it changes every hour, so I can't really give you any more information other than if you're wondering where it's at, where you're at, or a family member it might be at, to check the health department's website. And last thing before I give it over to Terry is shout out to Barb. She's been working with the IT guys. They did our email switch over on Friday. This morning, I was able to log on and get my email in Outlook. So we'll be able to start using some of the office tools for better collaboration and hopefully better email reliability. But it's not easy to migrate emails. So I know Barb's put a lot of time in that. There's still stuff to get going on it, but the fact that on Friday they started the switch over, and this morning the biggest problem I had was asking what my password was so that I could log on. It seems to have gone smooth. So a lot of work, good job there, Barb. And with that, I'll flip it over to Terry unless anybody has questions for me. All right, Terry, take it away.
So I'm going to start with water. We did the migration to the 365 on Friday. I probably picked the worst Friday we could have possibly picked. So I apologize for not a written report. I do have a written report, and I can send that off to anybody that would like to have a copy of it. But again, we have deadlines that we try to make, and Barb is great. She waits on nobody. So I apologize for that. So I'll start with water. We have now started in 2021 now reverting back to our original processes for the utility processes. Before, if you remember, we weren't charging late fees because of COVID. We weren't shutting off water because of COVID, and we weren't following a couple of our other projects that we had put in place, such as separate utility shutoffs for rentals. So as of the beginning of February, we started doing that. So our new shutoff date, first shutoff date, will be February 16th. The report doesn't look good. I had 202 accounts on there. Now, I mind you, we will receive payments this week and next week before shutoffs. It won't be that large, but we need to get back on track. We were doing a really good job of reducing that. I'm not sure what the issue is right now. The 3% increase for water and sewer was on this new bill. There was a notice placed on the billing to alert the customers to that. There was a 3% increase in their sewer and water charges. As far as the wastewater, if you remember, we started running overflowing last a couple weeks ago. based on the kind of, and non-technical, if you remember, Brad was at service meeting to explain everything that was going on with the discharge from Greif Brothers. And this is not to say that all of the issues that we had with the overflow was coming from Greif Brothers. If you remember, that was a goal that Brad had, is to decrease the number of overflows, which in 2019, we had quite a few of them. So we have been able to decrease that, but we just had what I call the perfect storm here in December and January. And again, we did overflow. We followed all the correct procedures. The EPA has been notified. In fact, Tom has been in communications, both email and through telephone, on everything that's happening. Last Friday, B3 engineer Brian Coughlin, myself and the team met with Greif Brothers, the plant manager, the division engineer, and the current operator to discuss the recent swings or changes in the processes that we were experiencing. We have reached out to Massey. Massey is going to do a 1-month study, independent study on the sludge coming from Greif Brothers prior to going into our discharge system, into our collection system. One of the things, and I'm going to talk about shout outs, I'm going to give one to Wade. Wade called me last week and did a lot of his, what I want to call it, chemistry talk to me, which again, you know, I'm not a wastewater operator, but I'm hooking Wade and Brad up so they can talk a little bit more. But we need to better understand about the winter loads. You know, our system has a bunch of little bugs in it that we love bugs. In the summer, they're very, very active. In the winter, not active at all. There are some improvements that Greif Brothers are going to do to their systems, including putting a warming unit in that will warm up that sludge a little bit prior to sending it to us, which will make the bugs wake up. So as we get this study, as we go further along, and also these changes that are going to be made, I'll keep you informed. And again, do a cameo appearance of Brad if necessary, if it's more than I can explain. One of the things that I can say to you, the sludge is building up at the plant. Our bags are full. We did order 2 new bags for sludge until this cold snap stops, or at least it starts warming up. We cannot remove any sludge. We can't bring the presses in because they will freeze. And so we're kind of at a really bad situation right now just because of the weather, not allowing us to do some of the things that we probably need to do. So again, EPA is on board with what we're doing, and we'll continue following up very closely with them. I wanted to talk a little bit about I&I and sewer. That was one of the things that came up during the budget talks at the service meeting. We had met again with Brian C. And his company because we have engaged them through the EPA suggestion that we engage an engineering company on our I&I. We are right now analyzing, he's analyzing all of the information. He is supposed to be sending to me their suggestions going forward. Those suggestions probably will be a part of the projects that we will talk about for the year 2022. In the meantime, you can have the best laid plans anybody can possibly have, and then things happen. It just happens. And last week and this week, we have an issue on East Market Street. We call it the Park. It's really the Park Avenue, North Park Avenue collection system. We were having, one of the neighbors there was experiencing a backup. And once we started digging in that area, we found that it was really backed up to the point where we had Dryer Mallard come in last week and a camera the whole area so we can see what was happening. One of the things that was alarming is that we were finding gravel or grit in the waste in the bottom of the sewer pipe, which if you don't know, I can tell you that's not a good thing. that means there's either been a collapse or there's something going on that is not right. There should not be gravel and grit in there. Today, we spent quite a bit of time in the office going through the photos, the video of the cammering of the inside of that, of those pipelines. I believe, and as I was talking to Tim today, that I think it's something council should see. I think a lot of times when we do projects, everybody wants to know why we're not doing projects in certain places and they don't see the projects under the ground. And I think it's important that you see what, I don't know how else to say it, but a disaster or an issue that we have currently with an infrastructure that's under the ground. So at the service meeting, I hope everybody will attend that, because during that meeting, I will have Tim online and we're going to be showing you some of those videos of the interior of that pipe, because it's going to be necessary that we do something. Now, I know I've said sewer pipe, but I'm also saying I&I. You will see how the I&I does infiltrate the system through this kind of damage or this kind of disintegration of the infrastructure that we're seeing. It's very prominent. So next service meeting, you'll be able to view that with us. We're going to work to be able to share screens so that you can watch the video as Tim talks through it.
Can I pipe in real quick, Terry?
Sure.
I was going to bring it up in new business that one of the other projects Barb is working on is the with our IT company is the tablets for all of council. Terry gave me an update today. They're all spread out on the table. They're finishing, the IT guy is finishing that up. So hopefully the plan is by the next council meeting, everyone will have been contacted to go in, talk with the IT guy and get your tablet, so that if you don't have a computer easily accessible to you, you'll have your tablet that'll be all set up so that the screen sharing for that video should hopefully be relatively smooth. I was going to bring that up in new business, but that was a good segue. Thanks, Terry.
That's all right. That was one of my bullet points to talk about, was the 365 migration, and that the tablets were ready. I know Mr. Keller won't be able to get his before next meeting, but everyone else will set up a time for you to come in and we'll walk you through a little bit with the tablets. There's one for every council person. So they're very, very nice. I think you're going to like them. And especially in cases like this, when we want to show you videos of those things that you cannot see unless you're a little remote control camera traveling through blocks of pipe. So I'll be reaching out to you all soon, myself or Barb. Yes.
What, I guess, where was the location of that at? We're having
That
problem.
is on East Market Street, and it all empties into Park. So East Market, Granville, that north side of East Market of Granville and North Park. All of that empties into the same system, which is fed there at North Park.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I think it'll be very educational.
Terry, is this a good opportunity maybe that we should mention this particularly to people who might want to see? It might help better explain, at least if we have some, whether business owners or whomever who would want to maybe see what's going on.
Right. I will place it on the agenda. And again, because the mayor is shooting this live and recording, they'll be able to see what we see on our screens.
Okay.
So, yes.
All
and
right.
I could put something on the website also.
I'm going to, as we're talking here, test that and double check, but I'm pretty sure when I share a screen, it will filter through to the live stream. So if everyone that's looking at their computer in a few minutes sees the agenda or something pop up, that's just me doing a live test.
and I think we need to figure out how to do it so Tim can drive the video, because the video, there are certain what we call events or sections that we want everyone to see, and there's a lot that just looks like a pipe. So we want you to see where it's disintegrating, you'll be able to see the tree roots. I think it's an awakening that everybody should see. So moving on, utility support. Mr. Little will be attending training this week to be a certified installer for our Copeland grinder pumps. As we do more to the east of town and we have more grinders that are installed in town, having him certified will add an extra 2 years. And I think this is tremendous, another 2 years to our warranty. So any of our simplex or duplex grinder pumps that have like a 5-year warranty, they'll go out for 7 years, which I think is fantastic, and vice versa. So he also, there'll be true training sessions, and it'll also include the operation of the panels and et cetera. So this is, this is great. Streets, we received our last load of salt from the 2020 salt contract, which was 50 tons. I will be asking Jeff to prepare our salt legislation for the next council meeting, since it's due on or before Friday, April 24th, and I want to get it in early. Our request this year will be for 150 tons for the year 2022, because we've used our supply. If you remember, we talked last year about how much we had in reserve and et cetera, and this year we're using it. So so we'll be asking for 150 tons. Summer repairs were needed to the salt trucks this year. We had a lot of trouble with I believe it was the tire or the rim. Yes. So that was with the salt truck, and that's the truck that has the salt on it that spreads it. We also had trouble with our snowplow blades and had to get those relined on the edge. This equipment is very, very old, and it goes back to our conversation about a 5-year capital improvement plan to replace some of these, some of this equipment. So along with that, because we have very big snowplows, Tim is in the process of sharing a list of those. And yes, I see the record of ordinances. Tim is creating a list that he'll be sharing with the chief about the streets that are just too narrow to go down. We'll present it to the safety council meeting, and I mean the safety committee meeting, and that'll be in 2 weeks. So we should have that list prepared and our suggestions, and that'll be a part of the agenda for safety in 2 weeks. In cemetery, we received, we've already had a request for our first indigent burial for the year. It was a gentleman that was a resident of the village who passed away. All of the proper paperwork was filled out, and residential verification was completed. So we then, Brian just paid $750 for a cremation of this gentleman. If you remember last council meeting, I talked about joining the cemetery organization, and through that, and also through some other leads, I found that the state offers a reimbursement of $1,000 to each entity for up to $1,000 a year to each entity that has an indigent burial. So today I submitted all the paperwork to see if we could get reimbursed for the gentleman that just passed. The thing of it is, funds are only there for as long as they're available. So it depends on the funds. I expect to hear something in the next couple of weeks. Again, this is the first time I did this. It's kind of a grant. So I'm always out there looking for ways to help our budget. Also in the cemetery, if you remember, we had vandalism late last summer on the window there at the Basel Memorial Cemetery, which we thought was stained glass, which is not stained glass, by the way. It is painted glass. So the good thing about that is not going to cost us much to repair, but we did find a company that will come and remove the whole window, take it back to their shop, and they will take off the broken area at the bottom and install a new area. The colors, they will match the colors as well as they can. Again, it's not stained glass, it's painted glass. And then they will bring it back and install it. And the price of that is just a little over $7,000. So the other option we have, if we decide we want to wait a year to do that, is to get plexiglass and you know, to put up now to protect it. We may want to think about something like that in the future anyhow. So the swimming pool, for the last couple of weeks, I've had numerous conversations with entities that have community pools. I have been very frustrated with a company that I had talks with last year, who was on returning calls, who didn't seem to want to have our business, and I thought it was because it was small. But interesting enough, one of the other larger entities said the same thing about them. So obviously, there is a big demand for swimming pool companies. I did find a company in Gahanna that is sending me a bid. But as I talk to other operators, they are doing the same thing that we were doing before. If they need concrete work, they're just reaching out to the person that does the concrete work for the village. If they need metal work, they reach out to a metal worker. So hopefully by next service meeting, I will have a bid on how much it will take to repair the swimming pool. And that will be the end of February. And then I believe that Brian and I have talked, and I believe we do have the money to do that. We'll just have to, once we decide, start looking for a pool manager and lifeguards. So I am more hopeful now about opening the pool than I was, because I believe I have found someone to help us address those repairs. Moving on to grants. OPWC Friday, again in Delaware, I will do the next to last scoring session. The Friday after that will be our final scoring session, and we will know exactly what projects will be submitted to the state to be for this year to be funded. I also last Friday attended an RCAP training webinar called Can We Get That Project Funded? The focus is on what kind of funding is out there in the way of water and wastewater projects from funding. I took this a couple of years ago. Nothing has changed, except I can tell you it's more competitive now. One of the things they said when they first started was there is no free money. So there are no free grants. But there are plenty of low interest loans. So again, I have a whole matrix where I can go to look for grants and stuff, but I will continue to do the best I can to find the best funding scenarios as possible. Mr. Hankinson?
And Terry, I just sent you an email with the Ohio Municipal League Attorneys Association grant workshop stuff we talked about as well.
Okay. So again, I keep trying to find those grants for us, and I will continue to do so. I already talked about the 365 migration, and then the last thing I want to talk about, I know it's been a long report, but lots going on in the village. We had I will be attending 2 code enforcement virtual training sessions this month. One is the organization that I belong to for the code enforcement people. The other one is on software. Currently, the code enforcement officer and myself have been working on tracking, and every year we try to improve it. It's just not as good as a system that will automatically create the letters that we send out. All of those letters that are sent out are created one-on-one individually. So it will help reduce the amount of time that we spend in the office. The other thing is, I'm really excited about this. This is only what, 1st of February? And we've had 2 new business applications already. So one of them, and both of them are awaiting action from the Fairfield Building Department. The first one is a Michael Palmer. He is going to reopen the deli that was at 949 South Main Street. And then the second one is the garage that's on 621 North Main, up there on the corner of Main, and I believe it's Rome. It was previously ran by someone else who now has sold the property. But it's going to still maintain, be it a garage like it always has been. The paperwork has all been submitted to Fairfield County, and we're waiting on action from Fairfield Building Department. Last but not least, tonight under new business, we'll be talking about a zoning application for property on 256 that they're asking to change the zoning. It is just outside of the village, but we have been asked to give our input on it. And so we'll talk about that in new business, and that was in your packet. And I believe it was Mr. Keller at the last meeting asked me if I've heard anything about any new proposals. This week, I received a very preliminary proposal for a new subdivision, which will be the extension of the Fairlawn Estates over on Circle, Dorchester, and Tremont. I believe this is the, stage 2. It shows an additional around 36 new homes to be put in a subdivision proposal. But I say, but it's very, very early in the process. We have not even started the process that they must go through to get some zoning districts changed. So more to come on that. But I know Mr. Keller, you specifically asked me if I heard anything, and I wanted to let you know that I did. So that is all I have, unless you have some questions. Oh, I do have one more thing. I'm sorry. I received a letter today from Tom Smith. Tom, as you know, has been our wastewater operator of record. Tom says that he wants to retire. So he'll be retiring soon. So I wanted everyone to also know that. And Brian and I will be working on his paperwork. Brad is taking his test on Thursday. So we all hope that that's a successful I think also, I believe Mr. Little is taking his test on Thursday also. As you know, when I first started this, my goal is to get everyone cross-trained, cross-licensed. So, and that's it, unless you have questions. Sorry it was so long, but a lot of things happening.
All right, anybody got anything for Terry? All right. Brian, what you got from Florida?
Hold on, I had to unmute myself. Other than, if going back to the budget real quick, on the Excel spreadsheet that everyone got, I've highlighted all the changes that were made on the budget. So if anybody has any questions about those, let me know.
All right.
Did you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we got
Brian,
to that time.
Gotcha.
Hey,
Okay.
Brian, is that on the summary page? Okay.
Yeah, I tweaked the revenues a little bit in the general fund, and I believe it was the water and sewer debt service funds, and the appropriations changes. I kind of went through and triple checked my numbers for wages and stuff, and so there might be a few changes there, but I've highlighted everything that my changes.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
Brian, we were working on
All right.
refinancing the sewer debt, weren't we? Is that still moving forward, or has that been done yet?
What's that?
I thought I had understood you were working on refinancing the sewer debt. Is that still in process, or has that been done?
Oh no, that closed last month. That's all taken care of. The debt schedule has been updated. I do have an updated schedule. I'm trying to figure out how to print it because I got to change the print font on that thing. In fact, I made the first debt payment here last week. We owed interest on the bonds it was issued last month. It was $9,000.
Okay. Is that going to result in like a modest reduction in the debt service or not?
Yes, it can't really go by this year, but I looked ahead at next year's debt payment schedule. Interest for loan, we're going to save about $50,000. I believe I showed Wade that he can't stop in about a week ago. I showed him an interest payments alone for starting next year.
Okay.
Cool. Well, when you get back, Brian, we can figure out how to get that amortization schedule printed out, or by then everyone will have tablets so we can email it.
Okay.
Or because we have Office 365, there can be a central share and everybody can just know where it's at and we can send them a link. But we'll get there.
Okay.
All right. Jeff, what you got for us tonight?
The only thing I have is a comment with regard to the newly added ordinance 2021-02, which is to authorize the village administrator to transfer a obsolete and unused village vehicle, a Crown Victoria, to the school district. And the chief can probably answer any specific questions regarding that proposed transfer, but it's my understanding that that vehicle has little to no value, scrap value only. It would be beneficial to the school district because they would use it to transport unruly children. They have one student who apparently is a spitter, and so they need a protective barrier between the passenger seat and the driver's area. And that vehicle would be suitable for that. And it would alleviate the need for the police department to have one of its own officers provide that transportation. So it's definitely a cost-saving mechanism. And that's all I have.
All right. Then we will move on to council committee reports. Finance.
Okay, Mayor, we had our meeting tonight, and the main item we talked about was the budget, and all council member was there, so I'm not going to need to go over that. And our next meeting will be March the 8th at 6 o'clock.
All right. Service.
We haven't had a meeting since the last meeting last month on the 25th. We will have another meeting on the 22nd.
Deal. All right. Safety.
Our next meeting is the 22nd, right after service for 6:45.
Good deal. And rules. You're muted, Mike. All right, rules was going to have, there you go. There
Sorry
you go.
about that. We haven't had a meeting since the last, and we will.
You'll probably have an agenda for the next one next month.
That's what I was thinking of that word for. All right.
Yeah.
Next month, possibly then.
All right, good deal. Let's see. Moving on. Public safety reports. Chief.
Thanks, Mayor. We've had officers out with COVID. One just returned, and another officer got his first shot. So as soon as he gets the second, he's going to be able to come back to work. He's not had COVID, but he's been advised because of some underlying issues not to work until he had the vaccinations. So that's going to help us out a lot. We've got a couple people in the pipeline now. We're trying to bring on board. Hopefully we can get that done. We currently have four cases that have been submitted to the county prosecutor. Should be coming to grand jury very shortly. We hope. Everything's obviously still operating slowly. We're hoping for a break in the weather because we still need to get our rifle qualifications done, and those are done outside. If not, we're just going to have to bundle up and go do those because we're running up into a hard break on the timeline. And other than that, I think that's all I have right now.
All right. Anybody have anything for Chief? All right. Fire board.
Okay. I gave you a report for the last meeting. Our next meeting is the 18th at 6:30.
All right. Good deal. And then we will go on to community ones. We got planning and zoning. We haven't met since our last council meeting, but we have a meeting set, this Thursday. All the committee members received questionnaires kind of based on our last discussion. Barb and Terry have been aggregating those so that we have those available for further discussion on if we should do anything for short-term rentals and what that should be. And then we're also going to talk about ducks and potentially also this rezoning that Terry has on new business for us as well. And that's this Thursday at 6:30. Right, Terry? We said 6:30? All right. Tree Commission.
7
we
o'clock.
also-
The planning and zoning is 7 o'clock.
Oh, did we set that one to 7?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Barb.
Yeah, we'd have been early.
We'd have been early. So we do have a tree commission meeting on Thursday night. One of the topics of that committee will be the chemical spray license that Steve Cockrell holds to see what we need to do to utilize that within the village. We also will probably work on our spring planting plan. So that's this Thursday, 5:30.
Good deal. All right, Records Commission. That's back in my lap. I got to set that meeting for us to get together. 2 of the commission members right now are in Florida, but since we can have it remotely, we can do that. Brian, are you okay on the schedules if we look at the end of the month or?
Yeah, that's doable.
Okay. I'll look at that and get that out to everyone then. So, all right. Then moving on. Anybody have any motions at this time? Hearing none, we will go on to ordinances and resolutions. First reading, we do have one that's 2021-02, an ordinance authorizing village administrator transfer to Liberty Union Thurston School District obsolete and unused village property to wit 1 motor vehicle previously used by the village police department and declaration of emergency. I believe Mr. Keller said he would sponsor that for us. Excuse me.
I'm going to move that we bypass the committee. I don't think it was in any committee. It should have been in finance, but I'll move that we bypass committee.
All right.
Cosgrove
Second
here.
on that. All right. Discussion on bypass committee. Hearing none, roll call.
Cosgray,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Hankinson,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
Okay,
All
Mayor.
right.
I think Terry probably wants to get this transferred over, so I will move that we bypass the 3 reading rule.
Cosgrave, second.
All right, suspend 3 reading, motion and second, discussion on that. Roll call.
okay, Cosgray,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Hankinson,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
Okay,
All right,
Mayor.
3 readings suspended.
Okay, Mayor, I move to we adopt ordinance 2021-2.
Cosgrave, second.
All right, discussion on this. We heard from Jeff on it, but any further discussion on this one? Hearing none, roll call.
okay, Cosgray,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Hankinson,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
All right, ordinance 2021-02 will be adopted. As a practical matter, do you guys, Jeff, do they need me to sign the ordinance before they can go ahead and start that transfer? Can they go ahead and just start doing that?
They can start the transfer. I'll drop off the
Okay.
original ordinance at the village sometime tomorrow. So, okay.
Okay. All right. Moving on, no other first readings. We have one second reading, which is 2021-01, the permanent annual appropriations ordinance of the Village of Baltimore, Ohio for 2021, and the declaration of an emergency. Sponsor is Keller.
Mayor, this, like you said, the second reading. It needs to go to 3 readings, and it's not due to next month. So with no question, we'll take it to the 3rd reading.
All right, we will leave that one on for 3rd reading, February 22nd. No 3rd readings. There is nothing on the agenda for any old business. Does anybody have any old business? If not, then we will go to new business, and there is at least one item there. This is the Walnut Township parcel rezoning. And Terry, take it away.
So you have a packet that was in your forms that talks about the property located just east of town on 256. Mr. Klum is looking to install jumbo storage units at this place, on this parcel. In order to do that, they have to redistrict this 7+ acres from residential to I-2, which is a general industrial district. As a part of your packet, I printed out exactly what that general industrial district does, what can be there and what cannot be there. So in an I-2 district, if you see the number 1 thing that it is prohibited from using is for dwelling and residence. So if this zoning permit is approved, it will be changed to an I-2 general industrial district, and with the intent of jumbo storage units to be installed upon it. We were sent a letter asking our opinion on this zoning change within Walnut Township. Deadline was today to reply, but James has allowed me to send him the council's input after this meeting tonight. So we'll still meet the 22nd, just after business hours. Do you have any questions from your packet? I tried to include, you had 3 drawings. The 3rd drawing, that's the black and white one, kind of shows you where it's at in retrospect to the houses along 256 and also the houses that are behind it. So they're taking a chunk out of here to put storage units on. So
Actually agricultural at the moment.
I'm sorry?
Actually agricultural at the moment.
The zoning permit says current zoning district, RR residential. This is
and
Walnut Township zoning administration.
Okay.
And
Sorry, I had a misunderstanding.
Yeah, the auditor's office has it as residential. So here's my, and granted, I've probably had a little bit more time than you guys to look at this. Eventually, we're going to have out to 37. And I have a real concern with more storage units, quite frankly, in Baltimore or in the area. We've got storage units on 256 as we go out of town. We've got storage units on there at Cliff in Maine. We've got storage units out by the cemetery on Main Street going out of town, and we know that that one's already expanding units.
Yes.
And, you know, let's just add more storage. We've got 5. Terry, do you know how many total rentable
I
units
don't
we
know how
have?
many total units there are, but I do know that the one that's expanding out by the cemetery will have quite a few new units added to it, as well as the one that is there by the drive-through, just a couple of blocks from each other. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So we've got all of those storage units, and then this proposed one goes in right next door to a house on a 4-acre lot.
Hey,
It backs up to 2 homes that are off of Witherspoon, off of Holder. You know, I don't know that Walnut Township would listen to us because it'll be a while before we get out that far. But I mean, for years we've been talking about getting out there, and I don't know that jumbo storage units is a good fit for future plans out there, and necessarily something we need.
And to go
We
along
also-
with that, if you also look, I did the map so that you can see where the Lancaster Newark Road is, because that property, that 80-some acres, has been purchased. And so the thought is not only a mini mall there on the corner, but also another subdivision and of homes. So proposed. I'm sorry, I stepped on somebody.
We also made it so people can't park their campers or their boats or their large RVs at their house. And none of these other storage units really accommodate that. So it is kind of a need because there is really no other option for people who own those types of things nearby the village.
I think Mr. Foreman, isn't Steve is, I think his new units, he does allow those kind of things to be parked there.
I'm not sure what his new unit looks like, actually.
Okay.
But I know I wouldn't want mine stored outdoors. I would want it stored indoors.
Yeah, I mean, but isn't this, I mean, this is the same area too, where we just more or less told a business that had been in Baltimore for a long time that wanted to move his semi-truck storage out there, that we didn't want to allow it. Now, his was probably going to have a little more traffic than this, but at the end of the day, we just told a business that had been in Baltimore for a long time that we don't think that that's a good fit for that business and to store semi trucks. And but you know, hey, campers, I get that there might be a need for it and stuff like that. I just don't know that it's a good fit right there.
Just a pretty big disparity between a trucking business and storing RVs and large boats or campers. They're not really at all the same.
But if I'm the people living in the house right next door who have kids, I don't want to live next to a RV storage facility. I just paid a bunch of money for 4 acres of land, you know, to be out in this area, not to live next to a storage facility. And then when you factor in that it's an I-2, so hey, it could be a storage facility, and that's the plan right now, but it could also be any of these other things: warehousing, packaging, manufacturing. You know, that it just, again, I don't know what they're going to listen to us about, but I don't think that this a redesignation to an I-2 is appropriate for this particular lot, especially given our plans for wanting to get out there. And again, the residences right next door, they're not in the village yet, but I mean, I wouldn't want to live next to an RV storage facility.
Actually, across the street from Needs Farms, which is a straw trucking facility. So it's like directly across the street from a more industrial type of center. So I don't know where you put industry if you don't put it on the state route amongst other industry. Is like across from Sacas. It's like as we go towards 37, that's a commercial district. That's what Walnut Township plans it to be. That's what Fairfield County plans it to be. Yes, there are houses there. There's no denial. And yes, I'm not an impartial person on this topic, but I think that is a commercial zone on State Route 256.
Well, and I think that's part of the problem with the way this got, it's kind of fast tracked. We've talked for years about wanting to get out there, and we do have some commercial enterprises out there, but we don't have a comprehensive plan for when all of this land comes into the village. What do we want it to be? And, this lot, it gets close to Needs Farm. It's not quite right across the street. So it just, if I'm in that house right next door, I'm going to be upset if this goes in. And again, I don't know that it's also something village long-term that would want to come in. I'm not in favor of this rezoning to an industrial where it could be jumbo storage tomorrow, or it could be a manufacturing plant if storage units don't get built. What we know it can't be is residential, but it's right next door to a bunch of residences. There's no buffer between your residential area and your industrial area. And when it does come into the village, we're setting ourselves up, if we support this, I think, for more complaints like we've been dealing with over on Oak with the landscaping company and the people that bought the house there. There's no real buffer between residential and limited manufacturing there. And they've sent potential litigation letters about it. And, if we support this and it comes up into the village, who's to say, we don't get more letters, because there is no buffer except the property line between a residence and an industrial parcel.
Cosgray here. For the record, I'd say I would not favor the rezoning myself as well.
And so, Terry, is James looking for something from the village? Yes, we support this. No, we don't. We're impartial.
If I didn't reply to him, he would assume that we were acceptable that this change to this site was acceptable to our agency, meaning the village. And so, again, if it's not acceptable and that's the way council wants to go, we probably need to tell them why. I'm not sure exactly what that means. This is my first zoning like this, so not quite sure. Zoning case like this, which is not inside the village, which is a change in district just outside of the village, an area that the village was hoping could be developed in residential. So I think that's something that council needs to decide. How do you want me to word that? Would the letter be best coming from the mayor, and not the village administrator? So I just, it's my job to present the information, and that's what I'm doing tonight.
Cosgray, do we need to make a motion to vote on this up or down?
That's what I would recommend, Wade. That you make a motion and let council vote on whether to object to this or to consent to it or to take no position on it. So,
Cosgray, I'll make that motion. I'll make a motion that we put it to council and each member vote on it, whether it's favorable or unfavorable rezoning.
I think to have a correct motion, Wade, you'd probably have to make a motion to either consent to the rezoning or to, I guess, disapprove of the zoning change.
Okay, yeah, I'll make the motion that, to object to the change.
May I
Okay.
ask a question? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but may I ask for clarification?
Sure.
It's McCreary. So
Yeah.
I know I'm the newest member here. What I'm trying to understand is it's a pretty big decision, especially if we talk about rezoning an area. If not there, where else do we have that is open to rezoning in terms of industry within the Baltimore area?
Well, and keep in mind that this parcel right here is not currently in Baltimore. So whatever we do, they may or may not go around with. But what you have is, as Rick said, going out further out towards 37. Though the 180 acre parcel looks like it's going to be mixed use. And then you have, if you go out 256 or Basel,
Towards
there's
Pickerington?
farmland towards Pickerington, especially on Basel Western, though we talked with the owner of the land out there, it was probably going to be a housing development, but he also told us it would be his kids that do it because it would be 20 years or more down the road because he's got other projects going on. So, and then of course, there's always the potential of annexation north of the village on 158 as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the property, and I can mention this, I believe, because I believe that there is an offer on the property that Sherry Looney had that's 80 acres there, that is a potential that could be another subdivision also. And that would be almost across the street from this.
There is an offer that's in the works on that. I have firsthand knowledge of that.
Yeah.
This parcel actually is split between the property line of Needs Farms and that property. So it is sort of across the street from Needs Farms because they actually dug tile across the street and cut the phone wires to drain their parcel. It does have 3-phase electricity, natural gas, sewer, and water. So, I agree with Brandy, if not there, where? That's my view of it. It is literally across from commercial areas.
And I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to keep an open mind here. I just don't want to block any good possibilities in terms of industry that could bring more money to the village. So, I'm just trying to better understand the situation.
Nope.
And I understand it's not inside the village, it's bordering right there on the edge of the village today. So I understand that part. So thank you.
So, and I get it, if not there, where, but at the same time, I guess my question back is, do we run the risk of someone who is seriously looking at putting in a development, not doing it because we put in an industrial lot right across the street? I mean, I get it that Needs Farm right there is a commercial lot, and they run trucks for their hay and straw out of there all the time. But it's also still a little different than an industrial lot. The Needs Farm one is commercial, not industrial.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Hey,
All right,
Mayor,
we had
a question.
Yeah. I was say we had a motion objecting, and it sounds like we're having discussion. Do we have a second on the motion? As we're asking questions. All right, I don't hear one yet. Go ahead with the question, Bob.
If it's a storage unit area, they won't be needing water or sewer. Is that going to block us from moving on out? Because right now, anybody that takes the sewer and the water they have to become part of the village? Is it going to block us from moving on out?
That is a good question. And Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't
I
think
can
that
probably answer
parcel-
that better.
Yeah.
That property has a prepaid sewer and water connection because of an annexation agreement. So if it becomes contiguous, it must be annexed.
Okay.
Well, so, and I'd have to look at the paperwork on that. I don't know off the top of my head, but we've tried to implement annexation agreements throughout that area for anybody that wants to receive village utilities by requiring them to eventually annex. So
I know that because I signed it. So it has an annexation agreement.
oh, okay. So you previously owned the parcel, Rick?
Yes, I'm the one that sold it to Ryan. So that's when I said, I'm not totally impartial here. That's what I meant, was I sold that property to Ryan. I originally bought it to build condos. And then I started looking at what that costs and the investment and the shape of the property. It's very narrow and very deep. And so to put a proper condominium complex on it, I decided to stick with what I know. And so I listed the property. If it sold, fine. If it didn't sell, fine. And so, yes, it has an annexation agreement. I know that firsthand. It has a prepaid sewer. It has a prepaid water. I know that firsthand.
Okay. Well, thanks for clarifying that.
Okay.
Mayor, the property that's east of that property, is there any plans for that property being any kind of industrial or residential?
It is, to my knowledge, it is still zoned agricultural. I just looked it up.
Okay.
And I don't know, that parcel's not for sale right now, is it? It's the next one over and it's for
It
sale.
is not. I can tell you firsthand that the same person that bought the corner of 256 and 37 and also bought the property across the street from this one has been in contact with that homeowner making offers.
Which means there would be an eventual potential that it would be a residential or the mixed use commercial
More likely
first floor.
mixed use, yes.
Yeah.
More likely mixed use because why put residential on the state route when you could have commercial there, put the houses in behind?
Now, does the property that we're talking about, does it have to be that kind of a industrial type of property, or can it be something less where maybe just the storage units, could be put on it and nothing else?
That's a good question, and I don't know because it's Walnut Township zoning and Fairfield County Regional Planning Commission. But if it's industrial there, if and when it would to come into the village, I think it would end up coming in as a limited manufacturing under our code, because that would be the most consistent with the listed uses for industrial in Walnut Township. So it would become a limited manufacturing for our purposes.
I would say probably, if it could be industrial or something on that other farmland east of that, I'd rather have a storage unit as a buffer in between me and that, which isn't generally used that often, versus having industrial right beside it. Generally, if it's a storage unit, it's going to stay that way for a long time.
Yeah, it could. But again, knowing now what Rick shared about the person potentially buying the lot next to it, you got a bunch of homes and residentials and then a storage unit, and then what would be mixed use. And a lot of the mixed use designs at least the ones I've been involved in recently, are pretty cool looking. And I would hate to, I don't know. I mean, a storage unit like that isn't exactly the most, eye appealing type of thing. And so now we're going to sandwich it between a bunch of residential homes and a potential mixed use, commercial residential type situation. I don't know that it's the right fit. Maybe further down the street, on the north side of the street, again, there's not a comprehensive plan for that area about what we'd want to do with it. It's kind of a hodgepodge. So this is why I think planning and zoning should look at this larger issue in the near future. But I don't know that a spot zoned industrial lot in the middle of what could very likely be residential areas is what we want looking for the future when that land begins to come into the village.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right. So we got to make a decision. There is a motion to object to the change on the table. Is there a second?
I'll second it to get it off the table and get going.
All right. Second. Now, we had a lot of discussion beforehand on it. Is there any discussion now that we have the motion? And this, just for clarification, would be objecting to the change. So I imagine Terry, if it passes, would tell James council in the village objects for all the reasons we've talked about. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none. Roll call.
Cosgray,
Yes.
Foreman,
No.
Hamilton,
I'm still thinking.
pardon, what was that? Was that a yay or nay?
It's a
That
nay.
was a come back to him. It's a nay.
We'll come back.
Yeah.
Okay. Hankinson,
I'm going to vote yes.
Keller,
So far it's 2-2, right?
Yes, that's correct.
I'm going to go yes then.
McCreary,
After listening to all of this conversation and considering everything, I'm going to vote yes.
Oh.
All right. So Brian, double check me. By a vote of 4-2, the motion objecting to the zoning change would pass.
that's correct.
All right. So Terry, you got your info to send to James?
Yeah.
All right. I'm sure if you have a question on anything, Jeff can help you with it too.
I sure can.
All right.
Thank you.
All righty. Moving on, does anybody else have any new business? I have one small thing, but if anyone else has it. Hearing nothing. One small business, just bring it up here. It should have brought it up earlier. We've got snow coming tonight. And so, Terry, I know back the last snow, I had you ask and make sure Peg did the sidewalks by the village properties and along Water Street. When I walked Water Street today, it was covered in snow and stuff like that. And we're supposed to get 1 to 3 or 2 to 4 more inches tonight. And I just think it's important that when it snows, we not only do around the village hall, but in front of the police department, sidewalks, we got the sidewalk down Water Street, and that we make sure that our sidewalks on our property are cleared, because it makes it hard for us to tell homeowners they have to shovel their snow if we're not doing our own. So I don't think it's something, someone has to come in on overtime to do. But once the roads get done, it would be nice if they'd hop on the gator and go around the village properties and sidewalks and make sure they're clear.
Got it.
All right. That was my only other thing. Does anybody else have any new business? All right.
Snow.
It's already started to snow. Great. Let's see. No visitors here. I did those others earlier. Does any council have any last call? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, I will so move to adjourn the meeting.
Foreman seconds.
All right. Before I call roll call, Brandy, it's nice to see you back and looking a little better. Hopefully you're feeling better.
Yes, thank you.
All right. All in favor of the motion to adjourn?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Same sign. All right. 8:52. We will adjourn. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening and be careful if you have to go out tomorrow.
Good night, everyone.
Right.
Hi, Jeff.
See y'all.